Hi there, I'm AnneMarie Chany of Gen X Quilters and the author of Sister Sampler Quilts. We've put together a series of video tutorials for you on some of the basic quilting skills. So whether you're a beginner just learning how or an advanced quilter that might need a refresher, I hope you can use these to help get you excited about your next project. Next, we're going to look at curves. Have you ever tried curves? They're a little bit of an intermediate skill, but it's not something that has to be scary. It's just something that you'll want to practice a few times before you go ahead and use it in your quilt. Today we're going to look at a block called the Drunkard's Path block, and that block looks like this. It's a 90-degree curve, and it's made from two pieces that make up the block. The first piece is called the pie shape, which is the curved piece here, and the crust. Those are the two units that are sewn together to complete our block. When we start making the block, we're going to use templates. Those will usually come with your pattern, so it gives you the correct sizes that you'll need to make. We have both that, the template for the pie, which I've already gone ahead and cut out, and then there's the template for the crust. And when I lay our crust template on top of the piece that I've already cut, you can see what I've done is oversize the template piece by, somewhere in between 1/4 to 1/2 inch bigger on both sides of the squared up ends. That gives us a little more freedom to square the blocks up at the end. It's a lot easier. Sometimes curves tend to get distorted a little bit, so if you have that extra room on your template pieces, or when you cut them into fabric, it really helps later when you go to square them up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to press some center lines into our two fabric pieces. We'll take those over here to our iron. First we'll take our crust. You want to fold it in half so that the two ends meet, and we're going to press this crease right here, which will mark the center of the crust piece. Then we'll do the same thing for the pie. There. Now we've marked our center lines. So then to sew these together, we're going to need to pin these two units, lining up the center lines. Actually, I'm going to flip that piece over so that then the two the divots in the pressed creases line up better. You want to put the center lines right on top of each other and pin in the center. And now here's where it gets funky. We'll need to pin at either end. You'll have to manipulate the fabric here, but you want to line up the edge of the crust and the pie pieces together. Now, there's lots of different ways to do this. I use a 3-pin method. I've seen some people only pin once. Which is only in the center. I have seen people use so many pins, it's unbelievable. Whatever makes you comfortable is what you want to do for this. I'm pretty comfortable with just using 3 pins. So do what you like. There, looks kind of crazy like that, but this is how we'll get ready to sew. Okay, so we'll bring this over here. And really, I just use this first pin to get the pieces lined up in my machine. So once I put my presser foot down, I'm going to take that pin out right away. Put my needle down to hold the pieces in place. And then what you'll want to do is to manipulate that top crust piece so it follows the curve of the pie. And I use my fingers all along to help that lay in place. This is the part that takes practice. So don't do this with your real fabric if it's your first time sewing a curve. It will really help you if you cut out some scraps and test it a couple times first to get a feel of how the fabric has to flow underneath here. So now we'll sew along the curve as we go. I've also heard some people recommend that you should think of this as sewing in a straight line. And I personally don't like to think of it that way. This is a curve. You should think of it as sewing in a curve. You just need to go slow and sew slowly as you turn the piece slightly underneath the needle. Okay, so now we get to the center. I'll take that pin out. And now we're going to sew the back side. So again, I'm using my fingers to kind of spread out the fabric. And it's turning ever so slightly, just following that curved path. Until we get to the end. Okay, again, this is something you should practice and go slowly with. So here's what it looks like when you're done sewing. And then we can take and press this unit. So come over here, give it a press. I usually press the curve towards the pie piece. Usually lays better for me that way. And now your curve is sewn. Now remember, we cut this piece a little bit large, so we're going to go back and sew it up. I'm sorry, square it up, not sew it up. So here I have a ruler that is the same size as the block needs to be. It's a 4.5-inch ruler. And when we go to square this up, what we need to do is trim the block so that this is the excess. We're going to come and place the ruler so that we're 1/4 inch past where the pie piece meets. So first, I guess I wanted to show you with my fingers. We're going to do that on both sides where the curves meet the square. So kind of get it in line with the pie edges of the block here. And sure enough, you can see we have 1/4 inch to spare over here and 1/4 inch to spare on this side. And then all of this is excess that we'll trim. So again, it's important just to make sure you have that spare 1/4 inch past the pie piece. So we'll trim this off. And trim that piece off. And there you go. There's your block. You can arrange these in different ways. This is just one type of curve. There's several types of curves you can experiment with. So once you kind of give this a try and get a feel for it, there's other types of curves that you can use to make your quilts more exciting. So I hope you'll give it a shot. Thank you.